Okay, so we want to welcome all our parents. We're really, really excited that you could join us today. We know that your time is very precious, so we really appreciate you coming here. Um, our goal today is to provide our parents with the skills that you need to really effectively work on speech with your child at home and to help their speech intelligibility. Um, just to introduce who we are, you might know one of us or both of us. I'm Patty Quinn, and I'm a speech pathologist at Parker Road and Wesleyan Terrace. And I'm presenting with Arlena Boyle, who's also a speech language pathologist at the Parker Road Preschool. Our presentation today is going to be approximately 30 minutes. So you are aware we are recording, and this will be made available to you after our workshop. We're going to post this training on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to access that after this presentation today. During the presentation, we're just going to mute all of our attendees. So if you have any questions as we're talking, as we go along, or any comments that you'd like to make, just please put them over in the chat, and one of us will kind of pop into the chat and try to answer some of these questions as we go along. At the end, we're going to have a question and answer period. So as Arlena mentioned, we'll stop the video and then we'll take any questions that you have.
So we're going to go through some of the basics before we get to some good stuff at the end. That's how all of our webinars and conferences always seem to be. We want to start at the beginning. We're all on the same page. So we recognize that each one of your children is at a different stage in their development in terms of articulation. So some of this might be information you've had, and some of it might be brand new. So we're just going to all have a great starting point at the same place. So this is just a basic breakdown of the natural progress of working on sounds. The goal is to have your child producing the target sound in different places. So obviously, isolation means a sound that's by itself. So if we're just introducing a child to a sound, that's what we call isolation. So if the sound is M, for example, so we're just working on just achieving that production. At the word level, we talk about it in different positions of words. So even at the word level, we could be talking about a sound in the beginning of a word, like moon, or the sound at the end of a word, like mom, or in the middle of a word, summer. So we talk about the sound in words, but in different positions. Then we talk about building the sound in phrases, like, for example, big moon or in the summer. And then obviously the ultimate goal into sentences, I see the moon. And we're also wanting at home, thinking about the target for 5 to 10 attempts at producing the sound per activity. So when we're giving you some activities, ideas, we're not talking about where you need to be producing the sound, for hours on end. A couple of trials, 5 to 10 trials is a great target for you. We're going to go on to some other basic strategies and information to provide. So most of the time, we're really just thinking about modeling that correct target sound. And we're going to talk about strategies to use for modeling that sound, more than just kind of saying, no, I'm saying ta, 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 just letting them hear the sound. We want to make sure that we're overemphasizing that target sound. So say you're working on, again, that T sound. When they're trying to say the sound at home, you can say, oh, you're asking for that top. I hear you saying t. So you want to really try to overemphasize what they're hearing and modeling that target sound. If your child's not really independent with producing the sound at home, and that is okay. Many children are not. That's why they're receiving articulation services. The best thing that you can be doing at home is that modeling piece and having them hear the correct sound. You can also have your child practice just listening to sounds. So if you take a word list, so say the target sound that your child is working on is, again, I'll go back to T. So you can just take a word list of words and kind of sit down as if you were reading a book. And while you're reading a book, you can highlight all the words in there that start with that target sound. To, top, T, whatever it is, the sounds that you're working on. And having their child listen to those sounds as you're overemphasizing them. You can also try to do, have them be the teacher, and as you are saying the words, like if you're saying, another great example that we work a lot on early in preschool is the K and G sounds. We call them the velar sounds. If your child is having trouble with producing the sound, you can work at them listening to it and kind of judging you. Like you could say it wrong. Like, for example, cup, you could say, top. Was that wrong, or was that the right way, or was that the wrong way to say that? And they can kind of give you like a thumbs up or a thumbs down, like, I heard you say the wrong sound, mom or dad, and have them kind of be the judge or the teacher. Obviously, you can work at the direct sound imitation or direct repetition of the sound level. So just working on, all right, I'm going to say the word cup. Your turn. It's your turn to say cup. And the other thing that we're going to talk about a lot more in a little bit is using those multisensory touch cues like k. When you're working on those sounds, it does help them to have a visual for sounds that are not very visual to see, like a K and a G. And then we want to talk about a little bit about the feedback that you're giving your children at home. This is a tricky one because as much as your children are working and they're really trying to get those sounds, it's hard. And we want to make sure that we're giving the correct feedback and not reinforcing wrong sounds and continuing to build the habits. So even if they're not achieving the sound, giving them positive feedback like, oh, wow, you are working so hard on that sound. I love how you're putting your lips together and really making that air come out. So you can use lots of like specific feedback when they're working on their sounds to kind of keep them motivated and wanting to improve in their sound production. And then the biggest thing that we're going to talk about at the end are some ways to incorporate games or motivational strategies to help your child work on these sounds. It's something that you can incorporate throughout your day, working on the target sounds, and overall intelligibility. But sometimes you kind of need a little motivating factor because sound production is hard for a lot of our kiddos. And it's hard work is not something they necessarily want to do. So how do we keep them motivated and using all these strategies throughout their day?
Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about are the touch cues that we use as speech therapists to kind of give our kids a visual of how the sound is made using our lips, our tongue, and our teeth. Again, these are just some hand signs and cues that we use just to bring the child's attention when, say when we're exaggerating a sound. We use a little touch cue to kind of bring it to their attention that they should really be listening to this information that you're giving them. The first one that we're going to open up is just the touch cues that we use.
I already fixed this and it already went back. How about that? There we go. I don't know why it's not going. Oh, it's slow. There it is. Just slow this morning.
Okay. So these are, you'll see on the left, are the sounds that a preschooler should have by about age 5 or 6. So these are the sounds that we typically work on in preschool. So you'll see the first sound is the P, and next to it just says voiceless, which means you just don't turn your voice on. Sounds are either voiced or they're voiceless. So Then off to the right is just a written description of what that touch cue looks like. So it's basic directions for you. Take your index finger, put it in front of your lips with your lips together, move it outward when you produce the P sound. So when you're exaggerating the P sound, then you just put your finger on your lips and just go, and maybe Arlena, you can just demonstrate real quick because I know I'm not on the video.
We're going to show the video too, though, right?
Right. So the next thing we're going to show is I just did a quick video of what these touch cues look like. So we'll just take a look at that now.
Here is a demonstration of the touch cues that you can use for articulation. The P is like this, one index finger, P, P. The B is middle finger and index finger, B, B. The M is like this, mm. The H is like this, H, H. The K is like this, one index finger, back of the throat, K, K. The G looks like this, two fingers on the back of the throat, G, G. The T is one index finger on the teeth like this, T, T, to indicate that the tongue is behind your teeth. The D is two fingers on your teeth, D, D. The N is like this, N, to indicate that air comes out of your nose when you say it. The W is like this, W, W. The F is like this, to indicate that air comes out and your top teeth touch your bottom lip. The V is like this, V, V. Hope those are helpful.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is how to create and use a pacing board to help your child work on their speech. So many of our kids have to practice multisyllabic words. So our sounds that they're practicing, they need to put them in words and in sentences and in phrases. So at some point, your child will probably need to practice a sound in a 2, 3, or 4 syllable word. So there are some strategies that we use to help a child listen to all the sounds, syllables in a word, and to try to imitate them. One thing we use is called a pacing board, and this video is going to show you just how to create one and how to use it.
Hi, today I'm going to talk about a pacing board and how you can use it for speech and for language. So a pacing board is essentially a visual support that provides expectations for the child. So the way we use those is if we're working on, say, multisyllabic words, 2, 3 word 2, 3 syllable words, what we would do is, I have a pacing board right here that I put together. You would put, say, the target word right up under the over the pacing board, and you would touch each circle as you tapped out the syllable. So for this one, it would be tomato. So that gives your child the visual that you're expecting 3 different sounds. So if, say, you're practicing multisyllabic words, you would just, say, put the word right up above it. Octopus. Ice cream cone. And it would be really great if your child could tap along after. Unicorn. Okay, so you get the idea. On the other side, I have 2 dots for 2 syllables. So it would just look like this. Pumpkin. So if your child was practicing 4 syllable words, you could have a card with 4 dots on it. to make these, very simple. I use some stickers. I actually colored the stickers. Your child can use favorite character stickers, whatever you have at home. Just put it on an index card, a piece of paper. Just you can use a piece of paper and a marker. You can even just make 3 shapes like this. Simple. 1, 2, 3. On the other side can be 2. And you can just use that as the pacing board. If you have a whiteboard, you can just put it on the whiteboard. Just make 3 shapes. 1, 2, 3. And then tap as you go along. Pumpkin. Okay? All you need are 2 or 3 shapes on anything you can create. The way we use this for language is to give the child the expectation of the language that you want them to use. So say you're working on some sentence strips that we give you in the remote learning deck. So this one for this week is I can. So if you're practicing with your child and you're tapping out I can, and right in here we're putting in an action. I can walk. I can jump. So as you're tapping, saying each word, you're giving the child the expectation that he should say those words as well. So throughout the day, you're not going to have sentence strips for everything that you want to say or model for your child. So if your child is working on expanding their utterances, so say if they're speaking in 1 word, you want to try to expand them to 2 words. If they're speaking in 2 words, you want to try to expand them to 3 words. So when you model language throughout the day, this will help you really be conscious of how many words you should be modeling to your child. So for example, if your child is at the 1 word stage and your child wants to request snack and they say cookie, well, you want them to use 2 words. So you are going to tap want cookie because you want them to say more than 1 word. You want to expand their utterance. So then they can tap out and say want cookie, and then you can give them the cookie. So if your child is saying want cookie, you want to expand their language to maybe 3 or 4 words. So you can model I want cookie, and see if your child can tap I want cookie. In this way, your child is understanding that it's not just 1 word, it's not just 2 words, it could be 3 words. They're starting to understand how to put words together in longer utterances. If you don't have this at home, you can even just tap out on your body. You can just say butterfly if you're practicing speech, and say the I want cookie example. I want cookie. So you can even tap on your body. Again, it's the same visual. Your child is learning that the expectation is to put in another word into their utterance. And if you don't have one of these, again, you can just tap, or you can even hang this up in the kitchen or bedroom or playroom, wherever your child does the most talking right now, so that you can just put it up on the board, on the wall, and just use the tapping technique to expand their utterances. And again, you're not going to have it all the time, so just always tap on your arm. That's a great strategy too. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, just reach out to your speech pathologist. Thank you. My main suggestion is a pacing board is a very, very, very easy thing to make. Again, it can be just a piece of paper with a marker making shapes or circles. So they're very easy to make.
Okay, we're going to go on to, we're talking a lot about pictures, and you're probably saying, well, I don't have those things at home and I don't know how to get those. And so this is our little tips and trick for how to get some pictures while you are at home. We also wanted to bring up the fact that you might not know, we keep saying target sounds, your child's target sounds or target words. In your mind, you might say, well, I'm not sure. I know that they're working on sounds, but I don't know the sounds. So if you have questions on that, certainly reach out to your speech pathologist, and we can follow up as well with emails to say these are the target sounds that we're targeting right now. Focus on these. There might be a variety of sounds that you're working on. We might say in the IEP, it might say we're working on stage 1 sounds, which incorporates like 6 or 7 sounds, but we might help to narrow it down to just 2 while you're working at home. So we can send you information and follow up. So how you can access these pictures at home is simple, using a Google image search. So basically, you just go on a Google image search, and you can type in, I want W sounds in words. And you're going to see lots of different pictures. There's this little video that will show you a quick strategy. It's pretty easy to follow, so I'm just going to play this for a second. As these pictures come up, you'll be able to print them at home if you have a printer, but you also can use them on your device. You don't have to do the printing. You can just pull them up on the iPad. Here you go.
When you want to search for pictures to use with these suggested articulation activities, you can go into Google Images, and in the search line, type the sound that you're looking for. So in this case, it's the M sound, speech therapy, or you can type in articulation. So we'll try that too. You can do M sound articulation, or you can do M sound speech therapy and pictures. Search, and you'll see lots of different options come up for different pictures that you can use. Now, if you know the specific position of the word that your child is working on, so say I'm working on the M sound in the initial position, like at the beginning of a word, here I have the option of clicking initial, and it will give me all the words or lots of pictures that have the M sound at the beginning of the words. Or I can type it right into the search bar, like M sound, initial words, speech therapy pictures. And then the pictures will already come up for me. So you can use those right on the screen, or you can print them to use the activities that are suggested.
Okay, and so when we're talking about printing pictures, again, we realize, not everyone has a printer, but also we're not talking about, 100 pictures. We're talking about, print a set of 5 to 10 pictures. They can be black and white. In fact, black and white's not a bad idea, because you can use that as part of an activity to have your children color those sounds. You can print them colored. And if you have sheet protectors, you can also stick them in sheet protectors. We are suggesting that a lot of the activities require like double pictures, so you might want to print 2 of the target sounds that you're printing. Again, you don't have to print them. You can just put them on the device that you're working on. I did want to share one other piece of information regarding the cards. Aside from Google searching, there are a few different websites. There are probably more than a few different websites that already have pictures ready to go to. One of them is speechandlanguagekids.com, and then another is mommyspeechtherapy.com, and I just put links to them here. So you could, they just already have these cards like right there for you, so you could just like print them, and they're kind of like all set up for the sounds that you want to work on. So these are available out there, so if you're looking for articulation cards, you can look for that. And again, always feel free to reach out to your speech pathologist. We can offer ideas on the types of sounds that you're working on and the position of the sounds that you're working on. We can also give you suggestions on where to find the pictures. Your speech pathologist knows your child the best, so they might have more personal connection as far as what sounds and what are motivating factors for your child. So now we're going to get into the games and activities, which is the motivating piece for working on all these sounds. Um, Obviously, we know, like I said earlier, that articulation can be difficult for your child as they're working on developing their sounds. And so working in a fun way and motivating is really important, but you can get as creative as you want with these ideas. We have a few ideas that we kind of threw together, and probably Patty and I could add like pages and pages of game ideas, but we think you can come up with these as well. So these are just to kind of like give you a little like stimulate your creativity at home and kind of be like, yeah, I can do that. That's not so bad. And we want you to hear that none of these games really need to be tabletop at all. We're not telling you sit down with your children and drill these articulation sounds. Again, use these sounds, use your activities and your creativity to kind of think about outside the box, getting them up and moving and kind of doing some motor stuff. We want to see your kids having fun, and moving around is a great way. So we're going to not touch on every single one of these. We'll talk about a few of them as we go. And also we're not talking about screen-based learning too. We want them to be up and moving and kind of interactive with you. So there are a lot of good ideas. One of the ideas you can think about is playing the game of Go Fish. So this is where you would need the 2 sets of articulation cards. You can just print them out, flip them over, and like, do you have a cup? No, I don't. Go fish. So introduce them to the game of Go Fish at preschool. As it's a great time to introduce them to that old-fashioned game. Or you can actually just go fishing and kind of like make some sort of makeshift fishing rod. You can do like a marker with a string attached with a little magnet at the bottom, or even I've done a string at the bottom and then like a ball of masking tape and like it sticks to the bottom and you're just sticking it onto the cards. So you really can be low key, low budget. There's nothing here really that you need to go outside and purchase. So you can play a game of concentration, just flip the cards over, a matching game, and kind of just take turns trying to find the match. You do not need to put the slew of 10 different cards out there. You could put 2 sets of cards, 3 sets of cards, whatever is most effective for your child. You can play a game of basketball, use a trash can, use anything and throw a ball in it. And every attempt that the child's using their target word or their target sound, they can earn points for. Or even as simple as like a beanbag toss or a stuffed animal toss, right? Put the pictures on the floor, spread them out. Like, okay, Mary, where do you think your stuffed animal is going to land right now? Where do you want your unicorn to land? Oh, you want it to land on the octopus. Oh, great. Let's land on octopus. See if you can get it. So these are just ideas. And again, we can share some more with you. Patty's going to talk about a couple of others.
Yeah, I think the best activities for me are ones that get the child moving. It's okay to do a little bit of work at a table, but it's not that interesting for a lot of kids. Again, some of the activities that I really like, the first one is I just called it Finish Line. And basically all that is you can mark, 5 spaces on the floor, like we said, maybe 5 to 10 tries of these words. So put down 5 words on the floor and then just have your child say the first word, look down, say the first word, and jump over it. So every time they say a word, they can just jump over the picture, and you can kind of create this, finish line, you're at the end, and big celebration when they've said all 5 words. So it's, something like that, so simple, just taking these pictures and making them into actions a little bit. You can put the words up on a wall and turn off the light, and you can even use a flashlight too to let's flash this word and what does it say. Kids love to use the flashlight. Again, they're not sitting at a table. For some kids who need a little bit more inspiration, a little bit more motivation, you can put, maybe a little M&M or a little piece of cereal above each word. And after they say the word, they can have the snack that goes with it. So, some kids are motivated by that, and that's fine to use. the bowling, you can put them on recycled bottles or cans, boxes, and then knock them down, and they can practice the ones that they've knocked down. So again, there's so many different ways, so many things you can do to kind of get your child moving. If they like art, Arlena, had mentioned, you can print these out in black and white, and you can have your child color the pictures and make a little book for your specific sound. So if all the pictures were B, working on the B sound, you can color them, cut them out, put them in a book, and then practice them. And your child can put a stamp or a sticker next to the picture every time they practice it. So, we have tons more ideas for activities. So if you're ever at a loss for something for your child to do to practice speech, just reach out to one of us and we can always give you some activities and ideas. Okay, one of the great ways that we introduce speech practice to our kids is through books. So of course, books can serve lots of different purposes. You're working on literacy, you're working on concepts of print, but the way we use books for speech is we try to get a book that is loaded with the sound that the child is working on. So Arlene, if you want to open up that link right here, these are called sound loaded books. So it just gives you some ideas for some books that you can read with your child that give lots of examples of the sound that you're working on. So if you go down and you look up at the top, it says initial B books. So if we tell you, okay, I want you to work on B at the beginning of a word, then you can go to these suggestions for books. And if you have them or if you can access them, they repeat the B sound a lot. So it gives you opportunities to use those touch cues, model and exaggerate those sounds. Your child is listening to all the sounds. And if you can ask them questions about what's in the book, and they can answer using one of those B words like, oh, what's on the ground? And they have to say bugs. So it's also giving them practice to say the sound. And books are just great because they really allow you to use so many of the strategies that we've already talked about. And if you don't have these exact books, what I like is they always give me ideas. So if I don't have that bug book, then I can think, oh, any book that has bugs will give me a chance to say that sound over and over. So if you look on the screen, the Final F books, Three Little Pigs, Three Billy Goats Gruff, Biscuit. Some of these might give you some examples of words that have the sound in it, even if you don't have these books. So, take a look at the books that you already have. I'm sure if you look at them in kind of a speech way, you'll look and say, oh, yeah, this one has the M word. It has monkeys and mom. And yeah, I could use this as an M book. So take a look at the books you already have. And I'm sure you have some books that can work on specific sounds. I included 2 links here.
Sorry.
Oop. I just included 2 links for some resources for books online. So the first link goes to Epic, which is the fantastic resource for digital books. And there are videos, and right now I believe it's free for parents. And the second resource is called Storyline Online. And again, digital books, movies, you'll find a lot of books in there as well.
Okay, so we're at the end of our presentation. We just want to talk about apps. We talked about you not needing to use screen time, but some people do prefer to kind of have a game. The only thing that we would suggest when you're using the apps is to make sure that you're supervising the child, because again, we want to make sure that we're reinforcing the correct sounds and that they're hearing the correct sounds. So definitely sit with your child and play with the games, and make sure that they're targeting the sounds that you want them to be targeting. And the other thing that we want to say about the, whoops, wrong thing. The other thing that we want to say about these is that they may say free, but many of the apps, like all the other apps, are kind of free for the basic demo, and that they'll usually involve in-app purchases. So you might see with the articulation apps that you only get one sound, and it may be S, and we're not really working on S in preschool, so these might not be appropriate for you. These are ones that we've kind of highlighted, and we can go through these specifically. You can actually reach out to your speech therapist and we can kind of go through. These are ones that we've highlighted, but there are pros and cons to every one of these, and you can see what works for you. We do not want you to do solely an app-based kind of therapy approach at home. We hope we can mix it up and do a combination of things, but these are good carryover activities. And again, we can help you through that. Some of these are inexpensive, some of them are free, and like any other app, there are pros and cons. And we're kind of fast forwarding a little bit because we appreciate your time and know that you have other things to get to through your day. So we want to open it up to questions, but Patty has one final thought.
My final thought is, Arlena,
yes, there it is.
you can do this. You can do this. Just work with us. We'll give you the information. This, all this information, this whole presentation, all the links, all the resources will be posted up on our speech YouTube channel. So if you weren't able to get it all today, just go back to it. And please, we are always here. We can give you lots of ideas, and this is something that you can do, and it will make a huge difference with your child's speech. Huge difference. So we're confident you guys, you can do this.
So I'm going to stop the recording right now, and then I'm going to stop my share, and we can like turn to the chat. So here we go. Stop share.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Stop recording.